Chapter 31, Guarding the Pavilion. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Skull Spearman, Tier 1, Faction, Undead, Racial Characteristics, Undead, Hollow Skeleton, Light Weakness. Skill, Spear Thrust, Inherent Ability, Primary Combat Proficient, Primary Spear Proficient, Primary Shield Proficient. Undead, this unit is already dead, cannot have morale, emotions, and is immune to toxins, diseases, blindness, and mental magic. Empty skeleton, no Achilles heel, light-based weakness. Light-based magic has a 20% damage bonus to itself. Spear Thrust, equipped with a spear, use the spear to stab the target, causing huge damage. Note, an embalmed skeleton soldier, when equipped with a spear, will be able to resist the charge of any unit, ignoring all charge bonuses. From the appearance, there is not much difference between the skeleton spearman and the skeleton soldier, but the properties have changed. The inherent ability of the skeleton soldier is sword and shield mastery, that is, more familiarity with sword and shield. However, the skeleton spearman has become a combination of a spear and a shield. When the equipment is contradictory, there is an attribute bonus. In fact, when attacking the castle, the advantages of the combination of arms have already been shown. The skeleton soldiers who only relied on the combination of swords and shields were beaten by the bloodthirsty bat wolf and were powerless to fight back. Just made some changes, and replaced some of the soldiers' weapons with spears and light crossbows. The situation on the battlefield changed, from being beaten to being beaten by bloodthirsty bat wolves, and finally killing them all. Therefore, the higher the rank of the arms, the better, but the combination of the arms is also particularly important, can play an important advantage and effect on the battlefield. Then, Fang Hao made 5 more recruitments, triggered by a hundredfold increase, successfully recruited skeleton spearman *505. Made enough wooden shields and iron spears to equip 606 skeleton spearmen. Okay, let's go patrol nearby, and hunt back when you meet a beast. Fang Hao ordered. The skeleton spearman turned around and walked out of the territory. Wait for the skeletons to go out. Fang Hao reopened the Book of Lords, and he obtained several blueprints in the castle. The first-level city wall construction drawings, 1200 for wood, 500 for stone, 300 for thatch, and 800 for hemp rope. The city wall plays a vital role in a city. In 2 days, when the protective cover disappears, it will be the last barrier to protect the territory. Therefore, the earlier the city wall is built, the better, and the higher the wall, the better. Choose to build directly. A square beam of light enveloped the territory, and in the next second, a 2-meter-high log wall was built to protect the territory. Kindness. The original first-level city wall was made of logs. It seems that if you want the city wall to be stronger, you also need to increase the level of the city wall. Second-level city wall, wood 2,400, stone 1,600, thatch 500, hemp rope 1,600. The material has been doubled. Fortunately, Fang Hao has a lot of labor skeletons, and if he is an ordinary lord, he will have to accumulate resources for a long time. The secondary city wall was built. The height of the city wall is thicker, and the height has also increased by nearly 5 meters. The third-level city wall, wood 3,600, stone 3,000, thatch 1,000, hemp rope 2,800. The material of the third-level city wall has increased a lot again. The amount of wood and stone has increased by more than 1,000 units, which is terrifying. Click upgrade. 5 minutes later, the construction of the third-level city wall was completed. The city wall is about 5 meters high, and the material is changed from all wood to half wood and half stone. The 3 meters below are stone, and the top is still thick logs. The city walls can already be patrolled and guarded by manpower. After the construction was completed, Fang Hao continued to check the newly harvested architectural drawings. Guarding the pavilion. Category, Special Building, Description. The troops/heroes placed in the guarding pavilion have all attributes plus 2%, and can perceive all dangers in the guarded area. Required materials, wood 500, stone 300, thatch 120, hemp rope 100. In Fang Hao's view, the role of guarding the pavilion is more like a doorman, or the door god. It can protect a specific area, and the troops or heroes placed will increase all attributes by 2%, although not high. The buildings can be upgraded. At that time, as the level of the building increases, the added attributes will naturally increase significantly. After thinking about it, I decided to build the Guardian Pavilion. in front of the Lord's wooden house. At present, he is the only living person in the territory, and the other skeleton soldiers do not need any special protection. The one who needs protection the most is him. Confirm build. Light appeared, and a simple wooden pavilion appeared in the open space in front of the Lord's wooden house. Please choose the Guardian building, the 3rd level Lord Log House / 3rd level Warehouse. The Guardian Pavilion will automatically detect nearby buildings and let them choose Lord's Chalet, Guardian Pavilion. The light shone again, and a ripple shrouded the Lord's wooden house. Please select 2 troops / 1 hero to be placed. Skeleton soldiers. The arms in his hands are currently all first order, soldiers or spearmen. Which one is more suitable to serve as a doorman? Obviously, spearmen's weapons may not be suitable for use in this pavilion. I chose the skeleton soldiers. 2 skeleton soldiers walked over silently, separated from each other, and guarded the Lord's wooden house. Fang Hao observed around the pavilion. It feels okay. When the territory is rebuilt, put the pavilion aside. Next, just wanted to build the skeleton transformation field. His stomach was already grumbling in protest. When I looked at the sky, I realized that it was almost dusk. The setting sun pierced through the gaps in the clouds, shooting out streaks of crimson color. All this time, raise the fire and slice the meat from the warehouse. The Ling Tian has been built, and the skeletons are also arranged to watch and cultivate every day. After a few more days, you can eat vegetables. Eating meat every day is really unbearable, especially if there are no various seasonings and only meat is eaten. While roasting the meat, open the regional channel and watch everyone chat. What kind of weapons did your soldiers use? Today, a coyote was trapped in a trap. The soldiers and I took a long time to kill, and 2 people were injured. Don't mention it, I'm worse than you. After cooking a pot of mushroom soup and going to the toilet, the farmers were all frothing on the ground when they came back. I'm like an old mother now, and I follow Dr. Zhang's instructions and give them detoxification. Doctors here are a new profession. These people have some medical knowledge that ordinary people do not have before. If you encounter a problem, you can spend resources to consult with them, and these people will give you some guidance based on the corresponding knowledge. I feel sorry for my brother upstairs. I haven't eaten big mushrooms for a long time. Is that Miss Sister upstairs? Where is the territory? Do you want to develop together? Miss, don't listen to him. Let's talk privately about the mushroom getting bigger. Not much nonsense. I urgently need spears and bow weapons here. Kill the monsters in the water, and exchange hardwood shield blueprints. Sincere ones come. Chapter 32, Skeleton Giant Bat. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Hardwood shield, white hardwood 4, hemp 2. Both are white attributes, but they are also divided into upper and lower. Now Fang Hao equips the skeletons with a low-grade white wooden shield. The hardwood shield is also white, but it is stronger than the hardwood shield. Fang Hao was eating barbecue and was attracted by the other party's news. After thinking about it, I still planned to ask the price of the other party. Immediately privately chatted with the other party and asked, how do you want to change? Damn it, Fang Hao, if you exchange it, it depends on what kind of spear you are. The other party replied, there are also several types of spears. Now the market is emerging. Wooden spears, bone spears, stone spears, are all white quality, but there are pros and cons. Fang Hao didn't think much, and replied directly, iron spear. Damn it. The big guys have iron weapons. Damn it, that when he heard that Fang Hao had the iron spear blueprint, the other party's emotions instantly became a little excited. How do you want to change it? I'll measure it. Fang Hao asked again. The other party seemed to be lost in thought. After a pause for a few seconds, he said, I have 12 militiamen, can I exchange 13 iron spears? White blueprints can't get so many iron spears. Fang Hao replied again, iron spear, wood 2, iron 2. According to the normal process of making iron spears, 13 iron spears are 26 units of iron. At present, in the entire region, no lord has discovered iron ore, and iron resources are still scarce. Although Fang Hao has a hundredfold increase, this is his ability, and he cannot use it indiscriminately to disrupt the market rules, or trade at the normal market price. Big brother, I really need these weapons here. See how much you can give to help my brothers. The other party also understood his offer, and Fang Hao couldn't agree. When rejected, let Fang Hao make an offer immediately. Fang Hao thought about it again and said, I can only give you 3 iron spears, but if you can take out 5 units of iron, I can give you 10 broken iron spears, which are considered excessive in the early stage. Then, Fang Hao sent the broken iron spear attribute. The broken iron spear is the trophy obtained by killing the zombie spearmen in the castle. Different from normal iron spears, it has been covered with rust and dilapidated, and now there is no blacksmith profession in the territory, and the equipment cannot be repaired, so it is better to sell it, of course, even if it is broken. Its lethality and hardness are still stronger than ordinary wooden spears, bone spears and other weapons. Big brother, can you be accommodating? I only have 3 units of iron here, can you please see? I will return the remaining 2 units to you later. Okay, you can put it on the shelf. That the two quickly completed the transaction through the designated channel. 3 iron spears, 10 broken iron spears disappeared. Fang Hao had a drawing of a hardwood shield and 3 pieces of iron in his hand. After being recorded in the Book of Lords, the conditions for making hardwood shields are illuminated. The two closed their private chat, switch back to regional chat. The hardwood shield blueprint has already completed the transaction with Mr. Fang Hao. You don't need to chat with me privately. In addition, Mr. Fang Hao is awesome. What's the situation? Are you switching to AK? So excited. What kind of equipment did you change? Lao Tzu's stone spears have been eliminated. Could it be that Fang Hao already has an iron spear? I'm Chow, the boss is awesome, I also want iron weapons. The big guy is awesome. Fang Hao swallowed the last bite of barbecue and closed the chat channel. It can be seen that his development speed is still far beyond that of most lords. That's a good thing, but don't be conceited, there are too many people passing through, and there are countless elites from all walks of life. People die here every day. If he wants to live and live a better life, he must constantly improve himself and improve his territory. He drank water and rinsed his mouth, and ordered the skeleton soldiers to boil water. He had to take a good bath before going to bed at night. There was no such condition, so forget it. Now that everything is ready, you can relax. Fang Hao got up from the seat and patted his butt. After walking around the territory, he finally stopped in the open space beside the burial ground. He plans to build the skull transformation field. Here, skull transformation field, rare wood 500, stone 500, hemp rope 50, shadow stone 5. Description: the skeleton transformation field can transform the buried creatures/skeletons into the skeleton soldiers, so that the buried creatures can be recruited by consuming the corresponding amount of sacrifices. The skeleton transformation field is fundamentally different from the barracks. He needs you to include species to unlock related arms. After unlocking the troops, you can consume sacrifices to recruit. After selecting the location, Fang Hao directly chose to build. The light rose, and a building appeared in front of Fang Hao. In the skeleton transformation field, stands a tombstone about 2 meters high. In front of the tombstone is a pond with a diameter of 5 meters and a circle surrounded by stones. The pond is soft soil, bumpy, like a dry pool. Go and bring the body of the bloodthirsty bat wolf. Fang Hao instructed. The 2 skeleton soldiers turned around and went to the place where the resources were piled up. After several trips, the bodies of 6 bloodthirsty bat wolves were carried over. Throw one in. Fang Hao continued. He was curious about how this transformation field was transformed. What will a corpse transform into? The 2 skeletons were ordered to drop the body of a bloodthirsty bat wolf into the pool. Bloodthirsty bat wolf corpse, whether to transform into skeleton troops. Convert. In the next second, the soil in the pool became soft like a swamp. The corpse of the bloodthirsty bat wolf is still sinking slowly, bit by bit being swallowed by the earth. After 1 minute, the conversion time is over, the transformation is completed, and the armed skeleton giant bat is obtained. Next second, a huge skeleton flew out of the sudden soil and landed on the open space beside it. The giant bat has only bones left in its body, but a layer of translucent flesh membrane remains on the wings to provide flight. Huge skull, Tier 3, faction, Undead, racial characteristics, Undead, hollow skeleton, light weakness. Skill, dive attack, inherent ability, intermediate flying proficiency, remarks, the skeleton troops transformed from corpses still retain their characteristics and attack methods before death. Formerly known as the bloodthirsty bat wolf, it has a body as large as an adult wolf, and its wings can reach about 3 meters, and the huge size of the skeleton in front of him is much worse. The size is similar to that of a vulture, and the rank of the arms has also been reduced from the 5th rank to the 3rd rank. It seems that this transformation field will reduce the strength after transformation. The most important thing is that the transformed arms did not trigger a 100-fold increase, but only got a skeleton giant bat. Throw all the bodies in. Brush brush. The corpses of the remaining 5 bloodthirsty bat wolves were thrown into the transformation field, and after a while, 5 third-order skeleton giant bats came out and fell to the side. Not bad. Fang Hao nodded. Although he didn't meet his expectations, he was still satisfied. Make up for the vacancy of air combat units. Chapter 33, The Death Does Not Change. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soak in the tub and take a comfortable bath. He stood naked in the open space, waiting for the water droplets on his body to dry. Although it was getting late, the breeze in the air was not cold, but rather comfortable. After the whole body was air-dried, he put on his clothes and walked back to the Lord's wooden house. The Lord's cabin has also changed its face at this time. The floor is a soft carpet. All the furniture has been refreshed, and the luminous stone chandeliers emit a soft light. Even at night, it is enough for lighting. These items were all looted from the ancient castle. When there is time tomorrow, I will arrange other rooms. The Lord's chalet is an important building in the territory, front hall, and 3 bedrooms. It's just that Fang Hao is the only living person in the current territory, occupying only 1 master bedroom. Lying on the bed, I flipped through the regional channels, feeling that there is nothing new to look at. I turned it off again. After thinking about it, he directly cast God's appearance, to attach himself to the skeleton giant bat. God's target, skeleton giant bat, fit 45%. The lower the degree of fit, the more repulsive the body is, the more mental power it consumes. The higher the degree of fit, the more suitable you are to operate this body, and the mental power consumption will be much slower. Fortunately, Fang Hao just wanted to experience the feeling of flying, and would not stay for a long time. Fang Hao looked around and found himself on the roof of the warehouse. Spread out the bone wings and try to flap and fly. It's not difficult to fly, but like maintaining a steady flight, it becomes a little more difficult to accurately pass through various obstacles. After trying it a few times, I became familiar with the operation skills. Controlling giant bats to pass through building obstacles is like a VR flight simulation. Call. With a flick of his wings, Fang Hao instantly soared into the sky and flew out of the territory. The skeleton soldiers are on patrol. Worker skeletons are farming, waiting for the potatoes to ripen. Fang Hao flew all the way, observing the surroundings of the territory through the night. Sudden, in the woods in the distance, there are firelights flashing. Someone, a fire near the territory is not a good thing. Skeletons do not need any lighting. Since there is fire, it means that there may be other people. Thinking of this, Fang Hao turned around, thinking about flying in the direction of the fire. Half flight, there were ruts left on the ground. Fang Hao suddenly remembered the pig-headed caravan that passed by from his own territory and left in this direction. They haven't left yet. Soon, Fang Hao's conjecture was verified. The woods are dense, and the pig-headed people during the day are chatting softly around the fire. "Captain, this fire won't attract that kid's attention," said a pig-headed man. Captain Parker was fully armed. Hearing the words of his companions, he said disdainfully, "That kid is not strong, and he dared not come out from the nest in the territory. Those low-level skeletons can't tell what it is when they see the fire. Don't worry." The rest of the pig-headed people listened and nodded. "Captain, what shall we do then? I have already observed the route of those skeletons patrolling. Let's avoid the skeletons and take all the valuables away in the car. The last torch burns the rest, and we don't even give him a hair." Parker used a branch, drew a simple course of action on the ground and explained it softly. The pig-headed people on the side listened and nodded again and again to express their understanding. "Captain, this last fire won't attract the attention of the other party?" Someone asked. "Stealing, and setting a fire at the end is really too much to know." A large part of the place where the supplies were stored was made of wood. This fire can burn for days. If there is no protective cover in the human territory, even the territory will be burned directly. Can we die in vain when so many people die? Shouldn't we teach that human kid a lesson? Parker scolded in a low voice. Oh, yes, the captain listens to you. The pig-headed man was scolded and shrank his neck. Pig-head Captain Parker looked at the sky. Okay, check the equipment and get ready to go. Parker kicked out the fire, and several pig-headed people also went to prepare. Fang Hao stood on the branch and listened clearly to the conversation of several people, just wanted to leave. In the iron cage of the trolley below, there was a low voice again. Parker, I advise you not to do this, you will kill everyone. A sneer appeared on Parker's ugly pig face, and he countered, Shut up old man, you actually cursed us to fail, stop talking, or I'll pull out your tongue. Hey! A sigh came from the iron cage again, but he didn't say anything. Fang Hao glanced at the iron cage on the scooter again, rushed into the sky, and went back in the direction of the territory. The night was dark, the moon was obscured by clouds, leaving only a few stars, shining constantly. The pig-headed people rushed out from the edge of the woods, pulling the carriage and quickly approaching Fang Hao's territory. After avoiding several waves of patrolling skeletons, they successfully arrived at the place where the supplies were placed. Load valuables, luminous stones, carpets, portraits, move. Parker urged in a low voice. The pig-headed people are also excited. These things can make more money than they sell for. Rolling up his sleeves, he started loading supplies into the car, just when the outfit is coming. What? Suddenly, a yawn sounded from not far away. The busy pig-headed people suddenly suffocated the movements in their hands, and looked nervously in the direction of the sound. The moonlight is dim. I saw a man sitting not far away, watching them quietly. It is the owner of the territory, Fang Hao. At the same time, the seemingly lax skeleton patrol began to gather here, surrounding all the pig-headed people. When did you sit there? Parker looked serious. The pig-headed people are not sure whether Fang Hao has been sitting there and they didn't notice it, or whether he arrived later. Let's go back and forth. Fang Hao said in a flat tone. You knew we would come. The pig-headed people leaned back to back, vigilant for the approaching skeletons. Well, I found out later. This time, let's admit it, let us go. We'll leave overnight and never show up in front of you again. How about that? Parker said solemnly. Skeletons with spears in a circle. The spears pointed at several people and gradually tightened. Do you think this is playing house and playing games? I gave you a chance, but you regard my generosity as stupid. Fang Hao's voice became a little colder again. No. Parker still wanted to explain, but Fang Hao didn't want to give him any chance. Directly ordered, kill them. Whoa! The skeletons on standby attacked instantly, like a turbulent tsunami, rushing towards the pig-headed people. Get out, fast! Parker shouted at the same time. The group moved to one side and launched an attack, intending to find a breakthrough and break out of the siege. For a time, the sound of fighting and screaming cut through the night sky. Chapter 34, Troubleshooting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The fierce battle continued for 20 minutes. Parker led the two pig-headed men, dragging their scars all over their bodies, rushed out of the skeleton and ran towards the forest. As long as they escaped into the woods, with the help of dense bushes, they might survive. Want to run? Fang Hao sneered, stood up, and raised his left hand. A fiery fireball emerged out of thin air and flew towards Parker's escape direction. Parker was covered in blood and fled into the distance without looking back. Suddenly, there was a burst of burning heat behind him, making him have to look sideways. When he saw that it was a magic fireball, his face was a little frightened again. Boom. Before Parker could react, his body was hit by a fireball. Team leader, the other two pig-headed people who escaped exclaimed, but Parker still lay there, motionless, with flames burning on his body. Knowing that the captain was dead, the two pig-headed men glanced at each other and continued to flee into the distance. But just 2 steps away, several huge skeleton bats swooped down from the air, knocked them down, gnawed them to death. All the pig-headed people died before Fang Hao walked out of the territory. The aroma of barbecue came from Parker's body in the distance, making him suddenly feel a little hungry. Collect the spoils and throw the corpse into the transformation field. Fang Hao said loudly, "Skeletons in action." The pig-headed man was pulled out, and the corpse was thrown into the transformation field, turning into a first-order skeleton soldier unit. Acquisition: 27 orc single-edged knives, 8 wriggling spines. Go to the woods. Fang Hao took the lead and walked towards the woods where the pig-headed man stayed before. The pig-headed people are dead, but their goods are still hidden there. Now it's its own trophy. Under the guidance of Fang Hao, he quickly found a carriage. One of the carriages was half filled with supplies, and the other half was held in an iron cage. Fang Hao lifted the oily skin on the iron cage, revealing the pig-headed man imprisoned inside. When he saw that it was Fang Hao who came here, he sighed heavily. "What? A little disappointed to see me winning?" Fang Hao said jokingly, "This pig-headed man and Parker don't seem to be on the same road." I also reminded before that Parker and others should not provoke Fang Hao. No, I reminded Parker that it was their arrogance and greed that ruined their lives. The pig-headed man said softly. Fang Hao didn't pay too much attention to it, but ordered, "Bring them all back to the territory." The carriage was driven and walked towards the territory. Get 1,124 units of leather. In the territory, Fang Hao sat on the bench and looked at the pig-headed man in the iron cage in front of him. He didn't mean to open the iron cage. After all, he still didn't know where the other party came from. Without killing him directly, Fang Hao's grievances are already clear. "Tell me, what's your relationship with Parker?" Fang Hao asked. It was getting late, and he didn't even have the patience to spend it with these pig-headed people. Cough cough. The pig-headed man coughed twice and continued, "I was originally the captain of this team, and Parker was my deputy." The pig-headed man in the iron cage began to tell. They are from a pig-headed tribe in the north. The task this time is to bring the materials collected by the pig-headed tribe in the past few months to the Manam Orc market for sale. On the way, his deputy Parker suddenly seized power with all the team members, injured him, and placed him under house arrest. If it wasn't for him being more familiar with the route to Manam market than Parker, I'm afraid Parker would have never been killed and his body would have been thrown into the wilderness. If he kills you, he is not afraid that he will not be able to explain it when he returns to the tribe? Fang Hao asked. Good explanation. Died in the mouth of beasts, or encountered robbers, etc. The tribe will not investigate deeply, and there will be nothing to investigate. The pig-headed man shook his head with a wry smile. Fang Hao thought about it right. During this period, as long as the other team members were unified, it would be difficult to find out the results. It is also difficult for the tribe to spend too much energy and manpower to investigate. In the end it was over. The story is well told. Fang Hao said. When Fang Hao was possessed by the skeleton giant bat, he heard the conversation between the old pig-headed man and Parker. There were also one or two speculations about his identity in his mind. Hearing his explanation at this time makes sense, and there are not too many loopholes. The pig-headed man shook his head and smiled bitterly. I can let you go, but you have to keep your mouth shut about everything that happened here. Can this be done? Fang Hao put his arms on his knees and looked directly into the other's eyes. The pig-headed man was suffocated, and immediately said, Bolton's revelation to the great beast god will never reveal the things here, even if it is death. Bolton is the name of a pig-headed man. Fang Hao nodded slightly when he heard the other party's solemn oath. In fact, he is not afraid of the revenge of the pig-headed tribe. Judging from the size of the pig-headed caravan, the number of tribes is not too large, perhaps not much different from the number of kobold camps before. At this scale, revenge on himself will only give him more squirming spines. Okay, you can leave now. The skeleton soldiers opened the iron cage and let the pig-headed man come out. Bolton looked at the sky and said again, My lord, can I spend the night beside the territory? Fang Hao also understood what he meant. He was alone at night, and with injuries, he couldn't get far at all. Yes. Fang Hao nodded, threw him 2 animal skins, and instructed the skeleton, if he dares to approach the material storage area, he will be killed. The protective cover of the territory still exists, and the pig-headed people cannot enter, but the material storage area at the rear of the territory is outside the protective cover. Hearing Fang Hao's order, dozens of skeleton soldiers immediately surrounded the pig-headed people, a look of strict supervision. After explaining everything, Fang Hao returned to the room to rest. The next day, early morning. A faint mist rose from the mountains and forests, covering the earth. Fang Hao had a Good rest yesterday. He walked out of the Lord's cabin and stretched a lot, on the wooden board at the door, record the 6th day of crossing, tomorrow is the 7th day, when the novice protection ends. Every time I think of this, my heart is surrounded by a sense of crisis. Take a deep breath and calm down, start your morning exercise, first run a few laps around the field, then 5 sets of push-ups and sit-ups. By the time it was all done, I was already sweating a bit. Instruct the skeleton to boil water and prepare for a bath, and light the fire to make breakfast. At the same time, I did not forget to put some food on the shelves for everyone in the area. Even if the skeletons are not good at hunting, 5 or 6 beasts are slaughtered every day. Keep food available. Look at the pig-headed man gone. He didn't go and brought it in. Fang Hao flipped the barbecue and said softly. The skeleton on the side led the way. Whether Bolton, a non-territorial person, is allowed to enter the territory. The reason for the protective cover is that non-residents of the territory must obtain the permission of the Lord to enter the territory. Allow. Soon, the pig-headed man Bolton walked in with an ugly face with a spear on his back. He walked quickly to Fang Hao's side and said respectfully, "Sir, look for me." Chapter 35, Fireblade Tribe. You are listening at novelfold.audio. By this time, Bolton also knew that Fang Hao wanted to see him. Although he was injured, he bowed respectfully. "Sit down." Fang Hao said casually. Bolton sat down nervously, and began to speculate on the reason why Fang Hao was looking for him. No regrets, just kill it. If I had known that I had left last night, at least there was a possibility of surviving. Just when Bolton wanted to beg for mercy, Fang Hao put the roasted meat in front of it and asked, "Man market, only the orc tribe is allowed to trade. Kindness." Bolton was stunned for a moment. It turned out that he wanted to inquire about the news of the Manim market. Immediately replied, "Not all of them. Humans and dwarves once came to trade here, but now it is completely a trade between orc tribes." Fang Hao was silent for a while, thinking quickly in his head. When he went back to his room to rest last night, he thought about the orc market. Today is the 6th day, and tomorrow is the day when the shield ends. When the territory does not have this layer of protection, it will not be a good thing for the traversers like them. So he had better go to Manim market to check the situation while the protective cover is still there and see if he can trade some supplies. So, I found Bolton early this morning to understand the situation. What about the undead? Fang Hao continued to ask. If you want to go to the Manim market, it's best to be a human. I am afraid that the undead will make things more difficult. Bolton replied hurriedly. Fang Hao nodded and saw that the barbecue in front of him did not move, said, "What? Don't eat meat?" No. Bolton shook his head. Pig-headed people are omnivores and eat everything, and the digestive system is very good, known as the iron stomach, and naturally eat meat. Eat it. Eating enough will also help to recover from the injury. There is still plenty of meat in my territory. Thank you, sir. Bolton looked at Fang Hao cautiously, grabbed the barbecue with his hand and put it in his mouth. Fang Hao continued to ask, "Manim market, what can I sell?" Slaves, weapons and equipment, and food crops are all sold very well, and then there are ore, fur, and the like. Bolton explained while eating. Orcs are not good at blacksmithing, nor are they good at farming, therefore, weapons and food crops are selling well. Oh. Fang Hao replied and began to bury his head in eating. The two ate quickly. When Fang Hao was full, Bolton also put down the food in his hand, indicating that he was full. Put out the fire and clean up everything. Fang Hao handed the iron sword and hardwood shield in the hands of passing soldiers to Bolton. Can this equipment be sold for money? Skeleton soldiers surrounded by guards were not afraid of what Bolton would do with his weapon. Bolton looked carefully at the iron sword and shield, said, "This kind of ordinary equipment is not expensive in the orc market. But it is very popular. If the quantity is large, it can be sold for a good price." Fang Hao nodded and stated his purpose. "Bolton, I want to go to Manim market to sell a batch of goods. You act as a guide for me. When the goods are sold out, I will pay you a fee. How about that?" Fang Hao has a map to go to Manim market, but if accompanied by Bolton, there will be a lot less hassle. After all, Manim is a market for orcs. Hearing Fang Hao's words, Bolton's face was bitter. it had planned to go directly to the tribe this morning, but now it seems that it will have to send Fang Hao to the Manim market before returning. I hope Fang Hao abides by the agreement and won't be too difficult for him. I would like to be your guide, my lord, Bolton said. It is good, you wait outside the territory first, then we will set off together. Fang Hao said. Bolton nodded and walked out of the territory under the supervision of the skeleton soldiers. Bolton went out, the tall city wall blocked the sight of the outside world. Don't worry, Bolton will discover Fang Hao's secret. Fang Hao opened the Book of Lords and started making iron swords. Iron sword, wood 3, iron 3, leather 1. The number is adjusted to 10. Make. Triggered by 100 times increase, get iron sword 1010. A huge number of iron swords appeared in the open space in front of him. Bring all the carriages and bundle the iron swords into the carriage. Fang Hao ordered. Not long after, the 5 carriages left by the pig-headed man were brought over. The horse is very docile, and did not react too much because of the undead species around. The carriage pulled to the side, and the skeletons loaded the iron swords into the carriage as instructed. Then, he came to the burial ground and planned to recruit some soldiers, triggered by 100 times increase. Recruit 10,100 skeleton soldiers. Triggered by a hundredfold increase, recruit 20,200 skeleton spearmen. In the previous war with the orcs of the Burning Blade tribe, I harvested 1,007 spines. It has been in the warehouse and not used, enough for him to splurge now. Continue to craft iron swords, iron spears, hardwood shields, armor, and equip newly recruited troops. Get everything ready. More than 30,000 troops, surrounded by 5 carriages, walked out of the territory. Outside the territory, Bolton saw an army of tens of thousands of skeletons coming out of the territory. His eyes widened in disbelief. He had just had breakfast with Fang Hao, and there were not such a large number of troops in the territory at that time. Where does this come from? Bolton, get in the car, I still need you to guide the way. Sitting on the carriage, Fang Hao issued an invitation. The crowded skeleton army made a way. Bolton nervously got into the carriage and sat in the back. My lord, so many undead, I am afraid it will cause panic. Bolton reminded softly. Small tribes are only a few hundred people, only large tribes can approach 10,000 people. To dispatch tens of thousands of troops to escort the supplies on these carriages, I am afraid that only Fang Hao can do it. It's okay. Fang Hao didn't explain much. The carriage drove forward, heading towards the Manim market. At the same time, east of the territory, the Fireblade tribe, the Kobold Patriarch who was killed twice by Fang Hao was kneeling in the center of the Orc Hall, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. The night before, more than 2,000 Orc warriors were drowned by the Undead army. He was familiar with the terrain of the camp, and only survived by hiding in the excrement heap of the camp. Outside the territory, he hesitated for a long time, and finally chose to come to the Fireblade tribe to bring back the news of Keto's death in battle, and let the Fireblade avenge himself. Likewise, he may face the anger of the Burning Blade, but at this time, he couldn't think about it anymore. For revenge, he could only use the power of the Fireblade tribe. You said Keto died? A deep voice suddenly sounded. On the seat in front, sat a burly orc, topless, revealing dark red tattoos, as well as various scars, with a grey beard and a pair of tiger eyes full of killing intent. He was staring at the Kobold Patriarch. He is the Patriarch of the Burning Blade tribe, Kent. Facing the oppression coming like a tidal wave, the Kobold began to tremble uncontrollably, and answered tremblingly, yes, yes. Lord Kudwa was killed by those evil undead, and all the other members died. In battle. Boom. Kent slammed down with a punch, and the stone table in front of him exploded and shattered in an instant. Why didn't you die? Chapter 36, Orc Market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Keto is the youngest son of Kent, and the most fancy son. It has always been cultivated according to the next tribe heir. In the tribe, it can be said that one person is below 10,000 people, but when he heard the news that his son was killed, Kent was instantly furious and his eyes were red. Why didn't you die? Kent growled loudly. When Keto left the tribe this time, he was called for help by the Kobold camp. It is said that there is a small-scale village near the camp. After plundering, the spoils belong to the Burning Blade tribe. The Fireblade tribe is the largest orc tribe in the surrounding area. If there is any threat to a village, he will let his son lead the team there, but in the end, his son died, and the Kobold Patriarch survived, which made Kent suspicious. The Kobold Patriarch's face was even more ugly. If he said that he only escaped by hiding, he would definitely be angered and killed directly. Simply make up a lie that is easy for the other party to accept. It was Lord Kada. It was Lord Kada who hid me. He said that I was small and not easy to be found. Let me send you the news and ask you to avenge them. Kobolds are short in stature, and this kind of rhetoric is true. What else did Keto say? Kent closed his eyes and leaned back in his chair. Keter said you were a great father, a great warrior, and would avenge him. The kobold continued loudly, call. Kent exhaled heavily and continued, okay, let's talk about the undead village. Well, then, the kobold will tell Kent about the discovery of the village and the human lord. You mean, a human can command the army of the undead? Kent was a little unbelievable. Yes, everyone saw it at the time. The lord of the other party is a human. The kobold said loudly. Someone, Kent said loudly. Immediately, an orc came in. Kent continued, mark the location of the undead village, and I will arrange for someone to investigate. Oh, okay. The kobold immediately drew a simple map. The orc soldier got the map and turned to leave. Kent thought for a while, then continued, you still have some use. I won't kill you, but Keto and 2,000 soldiers died because of your news. Hearing this, the kobold's heart skipped a beat. Kent continued, come here, pull him out and whip him. The orc soldiers came in immediately, dragged the kobold and walked out. The kobold was shocked and shouted, Lord Kent, I still have use. I know that village, it must still be useful. This sentence is still useful, Kent said to the leaving soldier, don't let him die. After a while, there was a loud whip and the kobold's painful howl. The other side, the pig-headed man Bolton really played the role of a guide, leading the convoy. We found a more accessible road and avoided several large beast strongholds. It can be said that it is not enough to have a map of Manim Market, but also to know the best route to get there. Fang Hao was lying on the carriage, using Shenling, attached to a skeleton giant bat, soaring into the sky, overlooking the earth, and ahead. You can already see the outline of a city. There are convoys coming in and out, and it is the Manim Market, controlling the giant bat to land on the scooter. Fang Hao also returned to his body and opened his eyes. Bolton, are you coming soon? Fang Hao shouted. Bolton sat in the first carriage, Fang Hao was the third. You need to speak louder. Bolton's huge pig head looked back and shouted at the same time, yes, sir, it's right in front of you. I'm afraid these troops of yours will not be able to enter the city. Such a huge army of undead, not to mention entering the city, I am afraid that approaching will cause panic. At that time, the other party is tense, and the two sides fight, but it will be difficult to end. You said that Manim does not allow fighting and plundering. Is this valid for humans? Fang Hao continued to ask. It's all valid, but there hasn't been a human caravan in the Manim Market for many years, so I'm afraid you'll draw some attention, Bolton said. Fang Hao nodded. When the time comes, I will let the army station nearby. You take me in. Okay. Bolton nodded. Fang Hao had already considered this matter. Fighting is not allowed in the Manim Market, and every orc abides by this rule. In addition, Fang Hao also has a means of self-protection. He has a teleportation scroll in his hand, which can be teleported out in case of danger. When there is still some distance from Manim Market, the convoy stopped, and the skeletons began to camp, building a simple defensive formation. The 5 carriages were chained together. Bolton and Fang Hao drove the carriage to Manim Market. 20 minutes later, the two came to the city of Manim. It is not a tall city wall. It is grey and white, and weeds grow out of the cracks of the bricks. 2 Tauren guards, standing at the gate, check the passing vehicles. This place is governed by the Tauren tribe, and the leader is a Tirk 5th Order hero, so no one dares to make trouble here. Bolton introduced softly, there is an absolute difference between heroes and ordinary troops. Heroes are stronger and have more talents and abilities. Often it is the leader of a party, or the core backbone. Bolton mentioned it at this time. In addition to introducing Fang Hao, he also indirectly reminded him not to conflict here. It is not a wise thing to provoke a Tier 5 hero. Fang Hao nodded, indicating that he understood. When the convoy came to the gate of the city, the bull-headed guards strode forward with their well-developed muscles and tomahawks in hand. Bolton, come to sell the goods. One of the guards greeted. Bolton showed a smile and pointed to Fang Hao. This time, I helped a friend lead the way. He brought goods and sincerity. The two Tauren turned their attention to Fang Hao. When he found out that it was a young human, his huge bull's eye was full of surprise. Humans. But no humans have come to Manim for a long time. The guard said softly. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't need to lead the way. Bolton sneered aside. The Tauren guards roughly checked the goods and didn't say much. He threw a wooden sign over and said, teach him some rules and don't make trouble in the city. Yes. Bolton arrived hastily. Entering the city, the convoy goes directly to the trading market. A human suddenly appeared in the city, still attracting the attention of many orcs. Many followed closely behind the convoy, intending to see what this human being would sell. When he arrived at the market and used the wooden sign in exchange for the stall, a lot of orcs had already gathered behind the car, lifting the oily skin on the scooter, revealing iron swords. Come and take a look. Weapons from the human race can be bought with money, or they can be exchanged for blueprints and special materials. Come and take a look. Bolton raised his voice and shouted. Chapter 37, Bunny Girl. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Bolton shouted loudly, immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding orcs. They all cast curious glances. Bolton, when did your tribe wear a pair of trousers with the human race? An orc stood in the crowd and shouted loudly. Bolton was not angry, and replied, sell some supplies for friends. They are all very good weapons. Come and see if you need them. Orcs are good at fighting and looting. For most of the year, there is also a fight and a search for battle. The demand for weapons and equipment has always been great. How to sell? An orc stepped forward, picked up the iron sword and swung it twice. A handful of World War I fire coins can also be exchanged for blueprints and special materials. It's easy to discuss. Bolton continued to shout loudly. These are just ordinary equipment. You dare to sell a war coin, isn't it a bit too dark? Someone asked loudly. Nearby, a few others echoed. Everyone knows what the market price is. There is no counteroffer for a single hobby in World War I. Bolton still shouted loudly. The crowd was silent for a while. Immediately someone shouted, I'll buy 100. Okay, if you want to buy it, please, pay the money and take the goods away. The orc came to Fang Hao, opened the purse made of animal skins, pointed out 100 war coins, and handed it to Fang Hao. Fang Hao, on the carriage, took out 100 iron swords and let the other party take them away. The popular currency of the orc tribe is called beasthead gold, but the forging process is not high, and the gold content is uneven. War coin is a common currency. Whether it is a large trading house or private transactions, Zanhua coin will always be the mainstream transaction currency, so there is no need to worry about not being able to spend it. The first person bought it, and some orcs who were in demand for weapons also began to rush to buy it. In less than half an hour, more than 300 copies have been sold. In the wooden box behind Fang Hao, the number of war coins increased rapidly. 2 days ago, Fang Hao was worried about the source of Zanhua coin, but he didn't expect that making money would be so easy. I want 50 iron swords. An orc stepped forward and just took out his purse, but stopped moving. Can I exchange it with blueprints? Yes, but it also depends on the drawings. I don't want some. Fang Hao replied. Then look at this. The orc took out a blueprint and handed it over. Fang Hao took it and glanced at it. Architectural drawings of the first-class arrow tower. White, it's okay, Fang Hao doesn't have this building. 10. Fang Hao gave an offer. Really, I changed it, and I bought the rest with war coins. The orc looked happy. This made Fang Hao stunned, as if he was with him. The orc took out another 40 war coins and took away 50 iron swords. I also have drawings. You can see how many can be exchanged. The next one also took out a drawing, manufacturing drawings of animal leather boots, white. 5. Fang Hao gave an offer. The price he offered was higher than the price the skeleton merchant sold him. This is also Fang Hao's own plan. it can make more orcs willing to exchange blueprints, thereby expanding the number of Fang Hao's blueprints. Okay. The orcs exchanged 5 iron swords. The next orc comes. Look at how much these can be exchanged. After that, he handed over the items in his hand: essence of magic, traces of spring water. Fang Hao frowned and looked at the item in his hand. Both the essence and traces are very rare resources. It is of great value to those in need. 1 for 5. Fang Hao quoted, already the same price as the white drawing. The orc fell into contemplation, obviously not satisfied with the price. There was an urging from other orcs behind him, and he gritted his teeth and said, okay, change it, add another 40, and check out the war coins. Fang Hao nodded and exchanged money. With the examples of these people, the subsequent transactions have also been much smoother. Those who have blueprints and special resources have a lot in mind. Those who come to exchange are also people who accept the price. Boom. At this moment, a figure was thrown at Fang Hao's feet. How much can she change? The speaker was an orthodox orc with a machete on his waist and a brutal face, and thrown at his feet. It is a woman. She has a slender figure and a pretty face, especially with a pair of slender ears on the top of her head, which reminds Fang Hao of a profession that appeared in the movie, The Bunny Girl. The bunny girl looked young, her face was pale and she was curled up on the ground, her body kept shaking. Rough linen covered important parts of the body, the neckline was low, and the fullness of the chest was looming. You want to sell her? Fang Hao asked. Of course, you can see how much you can sell, and you can save it to your human city. The orc shouted loudly. Humans and orcs have different aesthetics. A race with a human appearance and a weak body like the rabbit race is not popular with males in the orc kingdom. It might even be called an outlier, but this kind of bunny girl is very popular in the human camp. If you meet rich nobles, or people who want to taste the taste of orcs, you can sell them for a good price. Therefore, the women of the rabbit tribe, after becoming slaves, will be sent to humans for sale. How much do you want to change? Fang Hao asked back. He has a hundredfold increase blessing. No matter how to change it, he will not lose. But if you say how much a person is worth, he is really hard to say, and there is no basis for a case. 100 iron swords. This woman is yours. You can play whatever you want when you go back. The orc said presumptuously. Too many. 50 orc slaves are not worth 100 war coins. Fang Hao shook his head slightly. He didn't know the price, but he knew that the orc must have raised it a lot. According to the experience of visiting the stalls in the past, it is almost the same as cutting in half. The orc's eyes rolled, said, don't make trouble, you don't want to smell like an orc. She's just grown up and hasn't been touched by a man yet. 50, no more. 90. 50. Don't be kidding. If you are like this, I might as well sell it to a human city-state at a price of 60. The orc finally gave a price. Yes. Fang Hao nodded in agreement. Huh, well, she's yours now. The orc laughed, pushing the bunny girl to Fang Hao's side. There is also a proof of the bunny girl's slave. The bunny girl stumbled beside Fang Hao, her head lowered, her face pale, tears rolled in his eyes, but he didn't dare to cry, and bit his lip. The image of the bunny girl may not satisfy the aesthetics of the orcs, but it completely satisfies all the fantasies of men about women. She looks cute, has big buttocks and big breasts, and with her height of 1.7 meters, she has long legs that go against the sky, which is even more eye-catching. A pair of rabbit ears on the head and a white rabbit tail on the rump, it just kills people. Okay, don't cry. What's your name? Can you count? Fang Hao tried to make his tone softer. Master, my name is Ear, and I can count. The bunny girl replied, still sobbing softly. Ear, you are responsible for bundling weapons for the guests. Yes, master. He said while wiping away tears. Chapter 38, Copper Bowl Order. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Fang Hao received the money. Ear, the rabbit girl on the side, tied the iron swords purchased by the guests with hemp rope so that they could take them away easily. For a time, the three of them formed a certain tacit understanding. The number of iron swords on the trolley is rapidly decreasing. 3 hours later, the iron swords on the trolley were finally sold out, and they were replaced with boxes of war coins and supplies. Fang Hao counted the harvest, 742 war coins, architectural drawings of arrow towers, special architectural drawings of statues of high yield, drawings of animal leather boots, drawings of longbows, drawings of iron arrows. Natural gems 12, magic essence 3, traces of spring water 4, traces of the earth 2, traces of hunting 1. Looking at the harvest list, Fang Hao nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, it is still out of the mountains to get rich. The individual value of these white-quality iron swords is not high, but when the number comes up, the benefits are considerable. All the goods were sold out, and Fang Hao had nothing to stay. After all, this is a place for orcs, and security issues need to be considered. Bolton, what are your plans? Stay or go back with me? Fang Hao asked Bolton beside him. At the same time, he took out 50 war coins, put them in a leather wallet and threw them to Bolton. Bolton played a big role in the reason why this time went so well. According to the agreement, when he arrives here, Bolton can leave freely. Thank you, my lord. With this money, I plan to buy some supplies and return to the tribe. Bolton took the purse with a look of joy on his face. The money just made up for the lost cargo of those few trucks. Okay, you go back and pay attention to safety. Fang Hao didn't do much to keep him. Bolton looked a little embarrassed. A human who can control an army of undead can be more dangerous than anything. He wished he could serve this master earlier, and then let himself go. Good lord, I will be careful. Bolton said softly. Kindness. Fang Hao nodded, drove the carriage, and took year to leave here, reunite with your own undead army, so that you can return to the territory as soon as possible. Just about to leave in a carriage, a group of Tauren patrolling stopped the carriage. This human guest, the chief wants to see you, and is waiting in the chief's hall. The Tauren said. Fang Hao frowned, and began to think about the other party's intentions in his heart. Judging from the attitude of the other party, it does not seem like they are trying to snatch their own money, but the Tauren chief, he doesn't seem to have any contact. My goods. Fang Hao looked at the goods on the trolley behind him with a hesitant expression. In the wooden box of the trolley, there are more than 700 war coins and precious materials. Please rest assured, we will take care of it, there will be no problems. The Tauren guard continued. Since the other party said so, Fang Hao had no reason to refuse, and he was quite curious about heroes. Okay, lead the way. Fang Hao said. The Tauren led the way to the innermost part of the city. This place is more like a city, with taverns, blacksmiths, busy orcs. Everyone is busy with their own affairs. Moving on, Fang Hao was brought into a building full of tribal atmosphere. Chief, the guests have been brought. The guard stood at the door and reported. Let him in. A low voice sounded in the room. The Tauren guards moved out of the way, and Fang Hao strode in. The hall of the chiefs is very spacious. On the main seat in front, sat an unusually burly Tauren. He is close to 2.5 meters tall, his whole body is bronzed with a faint metallic luster, and his massive chest muscles contain powerful strength. Fang Hao has no doubt that this guy can kill himself with one punch. Bronze Bull Tarok, Purple Tier 5 hero. There was a brief silence in the hall. Fang Hao looked at the Tauren, and the other party was also observing Fang Hao. Tylok never thought that the human who came here alone was so young and thin. Please take a seat. Tarok said in a deep voice. Thank you. Fang Hao sat down on the tall seat beside him. Human friend, my name is Tarok, what should I call you? Tarok's attitude was very friendly. My name is Fang Hao, nice to meet you, Chief Tarok. I like you, smart human being. Tarok suddenly laughed. The sound was like a bell, a little deafening. Fang Hao smiled slightly. By the way, these are the equipment you forged. Tarok picked up an iron sword on the ground. In the hand, it is more like a dagger. It was the iron sword that Fang Hao had just sold in the market. Unexpectedly, Tarok also arranged for someone to buy it. Yes, Chief Tarok. Fang Hao replied. So, there are many blacksmiths in your territory who can make so many weapons with similar craftsmanship. Tarok continued to ask this. Fang Hao is a little hard to answer. The lord who has passed through can be made through the Book of Lords, making the same props. The natural quality is almost the same, or even the same. It is true that some equipment can be mass-produced. Fang Hao replied vaguely. Okay, then I'll tell the truth, I want to order a batch of weapons and trade in war coins. Terok continued. Fang Hao's heart moved. How come there are still customers taking the initiative to come to the door? Iron sword. No, this weapon is too light for us. We want to order battle axes, 3,000 battle axes. Fang Hao was in trouble for a moment. He doesn't have a blueprint for a battle axe. Chief Terok, I don't have any blueprints for your battle axe here. Fang Hao was a little embarrassed. Customers send you money, but you can't do it. Not a qualified seller. Huh, it's nothing, I have the blueprint of the battle axe here. If you are willing to follow it, it can be used as your advance payment. Terok laughed twice. Fang Hao's eyes lit up, and such a good thing. What about the price? What price are you willing to pay for a battle axe? 8 war fire coins, you can deliver them in a few days. Terok smiled and looked directly at Fang Hao. 3 days later, I will deliver the goods to you, Hao. Fang Hao looked calm. Hearing the time of 3 days, Tylos took another deep look at the other party. 3,000 battle axes, can be completed in 3 days. So how many blacksmiths does he have in his hands? Are you sure you can deliver it in 3 days? Sure. Fang Hao replied confidently. It is good. Tylok asked someone to send the blueprint and handed it over to Fang Hao. At Z axe, green wood 3, iron 12, leather 2. Still green gear, looks pretty good. At the same time, this battle axe wants to satisfy the tall body of the Tauren, and the consumption of iron is several times that of normal iron. Then I'll go back first, and when the weapons are ready, I'll send them over directly. Fang Hao said. Well, don't forget the time. Fang Hao walked out of the chief's hall, and Ear was still sitting in the carriage, waiting for Fang Hao to come back. Master. Ear said in a low voice. Well, no one stole our money. Fang Hao got on the scooter and asked casually. No. Well, that's good, let's go. He drove the carriage and walked out of the city. Chapter 39, Orc Raid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fang Hao and Ear drove the carriage out of the Manim market, to avoid causing panic and unnecessary trouble for the orcs. The site of the skeleton army camp is 20 minutes away from Manim market. Now they are about to rush to the campsite and join the army of skeletons. Along the way, Ear kept her head down, a cautious look. How did you become a slave? Fang Hao asked casually. Lack of popularity in the territory. He was also fed up with facing the veneer skeleton every day, which is why Fang Hao agreed to buy Ear, who can refuse to join a pretty bunny girl. The village was attacked, and all the remaining people ran away. I was caught by those people and became a slave. Ear still whispered. Orc tribes only look at strength. All rules are also based on strength. Even if a weak race like the rabbit is willing to become a vassal of other tribes, few powerful tribes are willing to accept it. Once the village is destroyed, someone will arrest valuable people and become slaves. Slave owners will train their slaves so that they will not act against their masters and make the goods easier to sell. Do you have any relatives? Or family members or something? Fang Hao continued to ask. Ear still shook her head, indicating that she no longer had any relatives. The rabbit people are weak and not suitable for the way of life of the orcs. It's a coincidence. I'm alone. It's nothing. People have to look forward. Fang Hao said softly as he drove the carriage. Ear raised her head at this time, glanced at Fang Hao curiously, and lowered her head quickly. The loyalty of Rabbit Ear to you increases by 5 points, and the current loyalty is 75. The system prompt appears suddenly. Loyalty. Yes, the system mentioned loyalty when he crossed over on the first day. Loyalty is too low. Peasants or troops, there will be passive sabotage or defected behavior. He has been in contact with skeletons with low intelligence, and almost forgot about it. It's just that I didn't say anything just now, so how did I increase my loyalty? Check Ear's attributes immediately. First order, faction, orcs, racial characteristics, life, dexterity, vigilance. Skill, half moon kick, chef. Inherent ability, primary combat proficient, primary swordsmanship proficient. Life, this unit can be healed, affected by morale, emotions, etc., and is immune to bone drowning and similar abilities. Dexy, with a dexterous figure, it has a speed far exceeding that of ordinary people, and can complete relatively difficult movements. Alert, rabbit people are naturally vigilant and can detect dangerous approaches. Chef, familiar with cooking recipes. With the ability to innovate cooking, cooking can increase the morale of living creatures. Half moon kick, rotate in the air and turn your feet into a half moon, dealing blow damage to the enemy. Description: bunny people are different from other orcs, they do not pursue first attack, think later, but are good at thinking. Not bad, although it was only first order. Fang Hao didn't expect him to go to the battle. The carriage continued to move forward, and it was already very close to the skeleton camp. Turning around the front of the mountain is the location of the skeleton camp. After all, the reputation of the undead is not very good, and when they set up camp, they also chose a more hidden location. At this time, Ear's snow-white bunny ears suddenly moved slightly. He immediately raised his head and looked to the left with a terrified face. What's wrong? Fang Hao noticed Ear's movements. Master, there is a crowd approaching quickly. Ear said anxiously. What? Fang Hao was stunned, but he didn't hear anything. Looking to the left, there was no one who was blocked by the mountains and forests, but Fang Hao also knew that with Ear's character, he would never make a joke at this time, and his talent was vigilant, which better showed that someone was really approaching. Take care of me, Fang Hao said, and immediately cast Shenlin. Ah! Ear didn't understand what Fang Hao said, and the next second, Fang Hao fell down softly. She caught Fang Hao and took the reins of the carriage at the same time, and controlled the carriage to move on. Skeleton camp in the kernel. In the body of a skeleton giant bat, a faint blue flame rose. God's target, skeleton giant bat, fit 45%. The next second, Fang Hao controlled the skeleton giant bat to soar into the sky and fly high into the sky, overlooking the earth. I can see that Ear is driving the carriage and is approaching here little by little, and behind the mountain forest on the left of the carriage, there are indeed dozens of orcs approaching quickly, and the target is his own carriage. Greed is really a reminder. Fang Hao said softly, these orcs are obviously coveting the money Fang Hao obtained, and they dare not do anything in the mana market, so they plan to stop Fang Hao's convoy on the road. After all, there are only Fang Hao and Ear in this team. Anyway, it's a fat sheep. After finding out the situation, Fang Hao rushed down and began to command the army of skeletons to deploy. The 5 carriages were connected, which seriously slowed down the advance. On the left side of the mountain forest, the orc figure has already appeared, rushing towards the direction of the carriage. Fang Hao cancelled the state of God's presence, controlled the carriage to deviate from the main road, and moved forward to the right. One head plunged into the kernel. The orcs who rushed over had blocked Fang Hao's way and surrounded the convoy. Fang Hao looked at the group of orcs without any tension, and said plainly, the rules of the mana market do not allow any forces to loot. Do you want to break the rules? Ha! As long as you kill you, who knows that we did it? An orc said with a sneer, but his eyes kept swept to the box on the carriage. At this time, the orc team blocked Fang Hao's way and surrounded the convoy. They all know that this dilapidated wooden box is filled with war coins. To be able to snatch it back is a huge amount of wealth. How can they not be moved? So, why don't we talk about it? Fang Hao asked softly, still not afraid at all. Ha! Interesting human, do you think you can survive? The orcs laughed arrogantly. We will peel your skin, then chop you into pieces, boil a pot of broth, and everyone will eat it. The orc licked his lips. You don't even have a body left, who knows how you died? The orcs laughed and laughed like they were playing with their prey. Remember, throw away his brain flour, he is an idiot, and eating it may affect his brain. Another orc said loudly. Originally on the main road, the orcs still had some fears in their hearts. Unexpectedly, this human being is an idiot, and he actually drove a carriage into this mountainous area. It's really a good place to kill people. Just as the orcs were discussing the recipe and how to eat, the two of them, Ear asked in a trembling voice, Lord, Master, what should I do? The heart is secretly bitter. Just when I was sold to a human, I encountered this kind of thing. It's okay, just some sacrifices. Fang Hao said with a smile. The noisy surroundings suddenly became silent. Anger gradually appeared on the faces of the orcs. This human being is really ignorant, and he dares to mock them when he is about to die. Boy, you are courting death, come on, kill him and the money will be shared equally. The headed orc ordered coldly. The rest of the orcs let out a roar and went forward to slaughter the human boy, caw caw caw. At this moment, there was a sound of dense bones rubbing around, then, undead skeletons equipped with leather-armored weapons walked out from behind the mountain and surrounded everyone. Chapter 40, Want to Become a Skeleton? You are listening at novelfold.audio. What's the matter, why are there so many undead here? The orcs' faces changed dramatically, but no one could give him an effective answer. More than 20 orcs, relying on each other, watched the skeletons shrinking the encirclement with a solemn expression. When it was discovered that there was a team of skeleton soldiers protecting the human kid, only then did they realize that all this was done by this human being. Boy, who are you? The orc asked loudly. Fang Hao smiled slightly and said, It doesn't matter, have you thought about how to eat me? Actually, my brain is pretty good, and eating it won't necessarily make me stupid. The undead soldiers are shrinking the encirclement. Orcs, how can I have the heart to discuss with him whether or not to eat brain flowers? Kill, let's rush out together. The orcs shouted loudly. The rest of the orcs nodded in agreement. Of course, Fang Hao had no intention of delaying, and said directly, Kill them all. Whoa! The moment the order was issued, the skeletons launched an attack, and the army instantly drowned the orcs. In less than 5 minutes of fighting, the world returned to peace. Collect the spoils and bury the body. Fang Hao ordered indifferently. This happens too many times. More than 20 people, in his opinion, was just a one-sided massacre. Soon, the bodies were buried, and the spoils were loaded into carriages. Harvest, creeping spine 8, orc weapon 22, orc leather armor 15, war coin 43. Okay, it's a small gain. Orc weapons and orc leather armor are of little use to Fang Hao. The most useful are the wriggling spines, and the war coins. Okay, let's go back to the territory. Fang Hao said. Tens of thousands of skeleton soldiers surrounded the carriage and walked towards the territory. Ier's eyes widened, looking at the scene in front of her in disbelief. Sitting in the body of the scooter, I couldn't turn my head for a long time. What's the situation? His master does not seem to be an ordinary human being. How could he command such a huge army of skeletons? Could it be that he is an undead race in human skin, and taking himself back, will he also turn himself into these skeletons? Thinking of this, Ier's body trembled involuntarily again. The loyalty of Rabbit Ear to you drops by 5 points, and the current loyalty is 70. The coachman has handed it over to the skeleton. Fang Hao was resting in the car, and suddenly a reminder of the drop in loyalty popped up, which made him stunned for a moment. After being besieged by orcs just now, Ier's loyalty has not changed. Now that the danger has passed, how come loyalty has fallen? What's wrong? Are you hungry? There is some jerky here. You can eat some first. Fang Hao said, and threw the bag containing the jerky. Ier was in her arms. Her big eyes dodged a little. By the way, do you eat meat? Fang Hao suddenly thought, do rabbits eat meat? Thank you master, I eat everything, but very little. Ier answered crisply, opened the bag, took out a small piece of jerky and chewed it in her mouth. Rabbit people are not rabbits and eat not much different from humans, belongs to the omnivorous type. Well, you don't have to worry too much. I'm not one of those slave traders, so I won't embarrass you. Fang Hao explained aside. Ier ate the jerky in small mouthfuls, her big eyes peeking at Fang Hao from time to time. Rabbit and humans have similar aesthetics. Take a good look at Fang Hao at this time. His eyes are deep, his facial features are distinct, and he looks pretty good. Master, will you turn me into a skeleton too? Ier raised her head and looked at Fang Hao. In the big eyes, there is a faint mist of water, which is pitiful. As soon as these words came out, Fang Hao was stunned. You want to become a skeleton? Fang Hao asked in surprise. No, Ier doesn't want to be a skeleton. Ier will be obedient and serve the master well. Please don't turn Ier into a skeleton. Ier knelt directly in front of Fang Hao, her forehead lowered deeply. Clothes that were barely covering the skin were once again wide open, revealing large areas of white and tender skin. No wonder the slave owner was asking for a price. The appearance of this bunny race really meets the requirements of human males. Fang Hao coughed lightly. looked away, and said, "It's okay, I have no plans to turn you into a skeleton, so don't worry." "Really?" Ea raised her head and glanced at the neat army of skeletons around her. "What do I lie to you, you don't have to be too cautious. No one in the territory will bully you. You can live with peace of mind and do something you like." Fang Hao said casually. "Thank you, Master, I will definitely take good care of Master." Ea's frown was finally lifted, and a smile appeared. Fang Hao's face was a little hot, and a bunny girl opened her mouth and closed her mouth to a master, makes people a little embarrassed. The loyalty of Rabbit Ear to you increases by 10 points, and the current loyalty is 80. "Okay, rest for a while, eat some jerky when you're hungry, and you'll be fine when you reach the territory." After speaking, Fang Hao lay on the scooter, opened the Book of Lords, and spent time, just opened the regional channel and saw a message. "My Chow, can I take pictures of the Book of Lords? My territory is not far away, and there must be tens of thousands of people passing by a large number of skeleton legions. Een soldier borrows the way, I advise upstairs to be more respectful. I'm kneeling and watching them leave, I want to be respectful. In the next Zhang Qilin, 500 wood, I will send you a drop of Qilin blood. Uncle 9, 400 resources, I'll give you a divination. I'm Tiga." Fang Hao looked at the crazy scrolling information and looked around. Sure enough, behind the side, I saw a territory wrapped in a protective cover. This territory has no walls, but is simply surrounded by wood. Only one figure can be seen, gathered together to look here, but the appearance is not clear. Fang Hao looked at it and ignored it. As dusk approached, the mighty team finally returned to the territory. When the carriage entered the territory, Ea knew what the terrifying number of skeletons in Fang Hao's territory had reached. Teams patrolling, farming, and transporting supplies, all are skeletons. Where is this human city? It is simply a gathering place for the dead. Move these into the hall, be careful, don't break it up. Fang Hao pointed to the wooden box with the war coins. The box is not big at all, and it is safest to put it in the Lord's wooden house. The rest of the resources will be sent to the warehouse for preservation. Il. Master, you ordered. Ea stepped forward immediately and replied respectfully. There is meat in the warehouse. Prepare dinner for the two of us. They don't need to eat. Fang Hao said. Okay, I know the master. Ea replied and immediately got busy. Light the fire and prepare dinner. After Fang Hao took a sip of water, he took out today's harvest and started to build. First-class arrow tower, wood 500, stone 350, thatch 280, hemp rope 200. Description: the arrow tower is one of the important parts of the defense base. It can be placed in the castle to observe the enemy's actions earlier, and it can also carry out fire attacks on the enemies within the range.